we'll start with the unit 9 and is called as function. Okay, so let me first introduce you to what does function means. Okay, so before I introduce with the function, let us see in mathematics also we have a function. Okay, the concept of function is fundamental idea in mathematics. For example, the mathematical notation that is f of x is equal to x square. Okay, so here f of x is equal to x square is this function, it shows us the square of the value, squaring of the value. Okay, this function is used to describe the simple mathematical function of squaring a value. So here in this example, f is the name of the function and x, okay, the variable x is the that is inside this bracket, right, is okay, or the parenthesis, okay, inside the parenthesis it is called as argument or parameter. So we can say that it is similar to the function that is defined in mathematical. So we have f of x is equal to x square. So f of x is equal to x square. So here, like I said, f, okay, this f is the name of the function, and within this parenthesis we have x. So this is the variable. Okay, this is a variable within parenthesis. We call it as a argument or parameters. Okay, in terms of even in terms of C programming. So here, when we write mathematically, if the value of x is equal to 2, then f of x is equal to 4. Since we know that f of x is x squared, that means it finds the function. So if we put the value as 2, then we have 2 square, which is 4, right? So here in, okay, if it is x, if x, the value of x is 9, then we have 81, that is 9 into 9, that is equal to 81. So here, okay, this is the parameter that is passed to a function 2. Okay, 2 is a parameter that is passed to a function, and the value or the output of this function, okay, is 4, which is returned back to the whatever the function is called. Okay, and then this function, what it does is it squares the value or the parameter that is passed inside the function. Okay, so function takes an argument and pass back a return value. So in this example, 4 and 81 are the value that is returned by the function. Okay, so the return value of a function is determined by its definition and the value of its parameter. So if the value is 2, the return value is 4, and if the parameter value is 9, then return value is 81. So based on the parameter passed to the function, the value will be accordingly passed or returned. Okay, so C function are like mathematical function in that they can accept argument and they can return a value. Okay, so function can be either defined by a programmer. So when the function is defined by a programmer, we call it as a user defined function, or it can be predefined. Pre means initially. Okay, predefined, or it's also called as built-in function as a part of system library. Okay, so a function can be user defined, okay, that is defined a programmer like us. If we define a function, if we create a function of our own, then it is a user defined, or it can be predefined or built-in function. Okay, so predefined or built-in functions are already there in the system. Okay, let us see. So predefined function or built-in function are also called as library function. Okay, so the function below we have already seen main function, printf function, and scanf function. We have already encountered all of this one. So all of these functions are library function, or we also call it as predefined function that has been already defined for us. So we know that printf function will display the message on the screen, right? Similarly, the scanf function, okay, what it does is it will read the input from the user. right? And then the main function is a function that where the program actually execute. So whenever the compiler, okay, try to read the code, it will first find your main function. Then from main function, you do the other things. Okay, so main function is must in all the program that you write. So compiler will always go and check first main function. Then it will go to other function if there are. So in this example, we have the printf function, scanf function, which are usually written inside the main function in our previous examples, right? So we can use main function to call the other function. So this printf function and scanf function, both of them are from different files, right? We have looked at stdio.h. So this file contains these two functions from where it is being imported or borrowed to execute in this main function. Yeah. So these are some of the function. Okay. We call it as a predefined function or built-in function, or also as library function. So this function has been written, okay, someone has written this corresponding interface or the function, okay. So these functions are already implemented through library. So when we install our compiler, okay, this function has already been defined, okay, created for us and then stored in this compiler. So when we try to execute it, okay, we just have to import it or include in our function, and then we can use all this function since it is defined for us by the system developers. Okay, so the library writers, we also call it as library writers. Okay, the library writers are typically software developer, the compiler, okay, or compiler writers and other IT or scientific solution providers. So they write all the function that is a required function for us so that our work becomes much more easier. Okay, so C library functions are stored in header file. We have already seen that with the file extension .h. So we have encountered this one, studio.h, that indicates standard input and output, right? Then there are other files like math.h, anything related to math, you can find it in this file, okay? Then string.h, ctype.h, etc. There are so many files, okay, where you can use some function of from this file. Okay, let us look at some example of predefined function. In fact, you should be aware of how to use the predefined function or built-in function or the library function. We have checked each one of it. Okay, so I was saying we have already encountered or we have already seen how to use a predefined function or library function. So we have used printf function, we have already used scanf function. So these are some of the two function that, okay, that is already being defined for us by the library writer or the compiler writer. Okay, now let us look at another functions, okay, that are included in the file math. Okay, so math.h library contains many functions relating to the mathematical operation. So if if you use this, they can save you a lot of work. So for example, you want to do some calculation, mathematical calculation, maybe you find uh, um, the cos value or sine value or trigonometry, then all of these functions are already inside this math.h. Okay, so what you can do is you can use this function, okay, include this file header in your program and then make your work easier. Okay, so I would suggest you all to explore more, okay, what are the functions in different libraries, okay, what are the different libraries that are in the C, okay, and then what are the functions that are included in C. Okay, so I'll leave you all to explore more. So here we'll just look at a simple example. So here we'll try to calculate the volume of sphere. So the function of volume of sphere is V is equal to 4 by 3 pi r cube, right? That means r is multiplied 3 times, right? Okay, so we'll write a function, write the program. So we'll write main function, then first define the volume. The volume is equal to 4 by 3 into pi. So let us assume that pi has already been defined here. We'll say hash define pi is equal to, okay, let's say 3.714, etc. Right? So we'll assume that pi has been already defined here. Then we'll write radius. Okay, let us assume that the radius is provided by the user. So we'll write 4 by 3 into pi into radius into radius into radius. So multiplying radius 3 times, since the function, the formula is pi r cube, right? So this one can be, okay, rewritten using, okay, the math function. So we have a function called as POW, P-O-W, okay? So what this function does is, okay, it will multiply to the power of any power that is provided. This function is available in this file, math.h library file, okay? And then the function is, okay, written like this. It takes in 2 parameters. So the function name is POW. It takes 2 parameters, x and y. So when you write, it is equivalent of saying x to the power of y. So y is the power, the value of power. How many times you want to multiply, okay? And x is the parameter or the value which needs to be multiplied. So in our earlier example, we have, okay, r cube. We have to multiply r 3 times, right? That's what we are going to do using the power function, okay, power function. So we can write flood volume is equal to 4 by 3 into pi into, now we, instead of writing radius into radius into radius, we can use this function, power function. So we can say power radius comma 3. So whatever the radius value, okay, will be multiplied by 3 times to the power 3. So if it is 5 times, then you can write 5. So this one makes our work easier, okay? So instead of writing, okay, radius into radius into radius into radius into radius, so we can just use this function, power, okay, power function, and then multiply. So it's a function from math, okay, math library. Okay, in another example, let us look at it. So in this example, okay, we are going to find, we are using this function again from, okay, math.h library sqrt. So this function takes in 1 parameter, okay, 1 parameter. So this function, what it does is it will find the square root of this particular number. So I'm saying int num is 100, okay, and then my result is in float, okay. Result is equal to square root of this num. So since my number is 100, so this result, okay, this function will return a value which will be stored in this variable result. So square root of 100 is, what is the square root of 100?
10.
10.
So square root of 100 is 10, right? So 10 value will be stored in the result. Okay, if the number was 16, then square root of 16 would be 4, right? So 4 would be returned to the value and stored. So these are some of okay, simple functions that are included in the math.h file. Okay, so I'll ask you all to explore, okay, and then check what are the some of the functions available, okay, which you can use it in your program, which will make your work easier. Now instead of writing, okay, the whole program, you can directly use this function. So your function square root has been called inside this main function, okay. So these are some of the other examples. Again, apps is another function, okay. These are again math function, okay. It takes in 1 parameter, so it finds the absolute of this value I, okay. Then you have another cell floor, okay, which finds the round off, calls rand. So this rand function, it will find out, okay, it will return a random number, random positive number, okay. And then these are some of the string function. We have already looked at it, if you all remember. To lower, which will convert all the letter to lowercase, then to upper will convert to the uppercase, okay. So these are some of the functions that are already defined for all of us, okay, predefined function, or you can say it as a library function, okay. So we will not focus much on the library function or built-in function, okay. So here we'll just look at user defined function. If you were to define a function, if you were to create a function on your own, how you're going to do it. Okay, so library function or the built-in function, I'll leave it to all of you to explore it. Okay, please explore the built-in function and then check what are the functions that you can reuse it. Okay, so we will look at user-defined function. Okay, or this is the function that is defined by the programmer like us. Okay, sometimes you have to write your own function because the precise functionality you need isn't in standard library, and also your function should reflect your algorithm. Okay, so sometimes the function that you wanted, okay, for example, let's say you want to maybe calculate the age of a person. Okay, the way the age is calculated by, let's say, the American may not be same. In such case, if you want to create a function, maybe because of the culture or maybe location, the function may slightly differ. Okay, then the function that is available in the library may not fulfill your requirement. Okay, then you can create your own function in such cases. Or maybe the function that you want is not available in the library, then you can create your own function. Okay, or maybe you want to have a different function, then you will be creating a function of your own, which is user defined function. Okay, so things that you have to remember when you create a function. Okay, let us see. A function you write has to be defined. Okay, when you say define, specify what exactly the function does. So you have to exactly write. When you define the function, you have to exactly show what is the function that needs, what that particular function will do. Okay, let's say for example the function will calculate the age, then you have to exactly write a function that calculates the age. Okay, then next thing is you have to declare the function. Okay, so by declaring the function, it makes sure that it is accessible to other function that use the uh, function other function that use it. So if there are other functions that want to use your function, okay, then you have to declare it. Okay, but so by declaring this function, you ensures you're trying to uh, say to other function that okay, I have a function called this one. If you want to use it, then you can use it. Say. Okay, it's like declaring your name. Okay, so that everybody knows that you are Sonam or you are Pemas. Okay, then next one is called. So when another function needs the processing provided by your function. Okay, so when another function like main function or other function they need to calculate the age, then they have to call the function. In our earlier example, the function calls this square root, right? So main function is calling this function. So this square root is a function that has been called by the main. Okay, so you have to make sure that your function is called if that particular function needs to execute or needs to calculate something. Okay, so these are the three main things that you have to remember when you define a function. Okay, make sure you declare the function so that everybody knows your function. Okay, then make sure you define the function, okay, what your function actually does, and then finally call your function. Otherwise, execute the age of a file or maybe find the average, then that particular function has to be called. So these three are important. Okay, function has to be defined, it has to be declared, and then finally it has to be called. Okay, so these are the three important things when you have to define a function of your own. Okay, let us see why you need to create a user defined function. We already saw that in C the required function may not be available, or the function available may not fulfill all your requirement, and you might have to define it on your own, right? Okay, so like I said, main is a specially recognized function in C. Okay, without main, you can never execute the C program. The compiler will always, it will always check the main program first. okay, and then only execute other functions if there is. Okay, so main is the special function that is first executed by your compiler. Okay, so every program must have a main function to indicate where the program has begun its execution. So main is the program a function where the actually the program start executing it. Okay, so main is important. You have to write the main function in whatever program you are writing. Okay, so main will be the one that starts the execution. So while it is possible to code any program utilizing only main function, it leads to number of problems. So as of now, we have been using only main function, right? So we use main function to calculate, to add, to find, to subtract, to everything. So when we write, we're using only one function, main function. So inside this main function, maybe we are uh, we ask the user to input their data, then we calculate, we add it, we find the average, we find the maybe the multiplication, subtraction, everything within that particular single main function. So when we have everything inside this one main function, okay, the program becomes too large. It becomes too large and complex. So as a result, the tasks of debugging, then testing and maintaining becomes difficult. Okay, as and when if you're working on some project, then if you're writing everything inside the main function, then what happens is your program will become too large. It becomes okay huge and then complex. Then if there is some error, okay, if there is error when you compile, there is error, then it will be very difficult to change, okay, or debug it, and then also to test whether the function is your program is working correctly or not. It becomes tedious, okay, difficult. I won't say it is not possible, it is possible, but it becomes difficult to maintain, to test, to debug, okay, if there's any error found in the program, okay. So because of that one, okay, if a program is divided into functional part, then each part may be independently coded and later combined into a single unit. Okay, so since if it is too large, we saw that it can be difficult to debug, it will be difficult to test or maintain. Okay, so as a solution, what we can do is we can divide the tasks. Okay, we can divide the function, okay, the parts of program into different small unit of program. So let's say, for example, the function, we read the parameters from the user, then we add all the variables from the user, and then we divide, and then we try to find the average of these, okay, variables. So everything is done in one program. But then this is a small program, so there won't be much problem. But in larger, okay, if you're writing a huge number of lines of code, then it would become difficult. So we can divide the tasks. We can make, okay, we can create one small code where it will only read the variables from the user, and we can write another code where okay, it will just divide the add the variables, okay, and then we can write another code which will find the average of this function. So if there's any problem, if there is problem, okay, regarding, okay, when we read the variables, okay, from the user, then we don't have to touch the adding part or the dividing part. We can just focus on that chunk of code where it reads the variable from the user. Okay, and then this ensures that the task, okay, is divided, and then the task becomes much more simpler to understand, and then even easier for us to debug it. So this independent, so when we try to, okay, when we try to divide the tasks, okay, when we try to divide the in a whole, instead of writing too large or complex a program, we can divide the tasks into different chunk of codes. Okay, so this chunk of codes, okay, this code, independent coded program, are called as subprogram. Okay, smaller program, or you can say smaller program or subprogram, that are much easier to understand, debug and test. Like I said, when you divide the tasks, it becomes easier. okay, even in our real life, instead of working, okay, everything at a time, or maybe let's say for example you're studying for exam, okay, so instead of reading the whole book at a time, okay, and in a day it would be very difficult for you all to read it or study. But instead of that one, if you divide, okay, let's say for today I'll just study on unit 1, so you focus on that one, you don't think about other chapters, you just focus on the first unit version, then it becomes your work easier. Okay, so similar to that one, we can divide the tasks, okay, and this smaller independent code is called as subprogram. Okay, so in C program we call it as a function. The smaller code, okay, coded programs, we call it as a subprogram, sorry, function in terms of C. So we can define C as a function, okay, sorry, we can define the function as a self content block of statement that carries out some specific well-defined tasks. Okay, so we can define the function as a self-content block of statements that carries out some specific well-defined tasks. So this function is a smaller program, we can say smaller program or subprogram, okay, that is independently coded, okay, and has a well-defined task. So each function does a specific task. So let's say if the function is add, then this function will only add. If the function says multiply, then this function will only multiply. So it will do a specific task individually. Okay, so the notion of a function provides a convenient way to encapsulate some computation which can then be used without being concerned about its implementation details. Okay, so by using a function, it will help you to encapsulate, meaning hide. You can hide it. Okay, so for example, let me go back to the, okay, in this example we have square root. So when we say sqrt num, here we don't know how this, okay, this function, okay, have found out the square root of this number. We just know we use this function and then we just write it, right? So here, without this knowledge how the square root is found, we just use it, but we know that this function will give me the square root of this number. Okay, so here the function, the actual work of function is hidden. So that's what encapsulation means. Okay, so the function enables, okay, make sure that it is encapsulated where the the function is called, wherever it is called. Okay, another one is the advantage. Okay, I'm still in why we have to use user defined function, or you define the function on your own. The function, okay, the use of function can also avoid the need for redundant or repeated. So the use of function can also avoid the need of redundant programming of the same instruction. This is our main function, and then we're going to write, let's say, int a, b, c, d, okay, and then we have sum. Let's say a is equal to 2, b is equal to 3, c is equal to, let's say, 3, and d is equal to 9. Okay, now we'll say sum is equal to, let's say I want first sum to be a plus b. Okay, and then I'll printf the value of sum, okay, is equal to percentage d, which is sum. Okay, again I can say sum is equal to, let's say for example, here I want to add c and d. Again printf, okay, percentage d, sum is equal to, let's say, sum. So in here I can see these two function has been repeatedly, this two line of code has been repeatedly used. This is just a simple example here. Okay, so these two functions has been line of code has been repeatedly used. So instead of writing again and again, what I can do is I can create a function. Okay, I can create a function of my own, and then instead of writing again and again, I can call this function. Okay, let's say int add. Okay, and I'll take a parameter a, b. Inside this function, I want to add a number. Let's say int sum, okay, and I can say sum is equal to a plus b. Then I can say return sum. So this line of code is my function, a small function. Okay, so this is a small function which adds a number. Okay, it takes in two parameters, a and b, and then I will add the number that is entered by the user. Okay, now, so this is a function. Inside my main function, what I can do is I can call this function. Okay, so let's say, for example, in my main function, I'll define int a comma b, okay, then comma c comma d. Okay, a is equal to 2, b is equal to, let's say, 3, c is equal to 3, and d is equal to, let's say, 9. Okay, then I can say, I can write, okay, I can define another variable, sum, okay, and I can say sum is equal to add a comma b. Okay, printf this one, this value, okay, percentage d, okay, sum. Again, I can say sum is equal to add b, sorry, not b, it is c comma d. Okay, and then printf this function, sum is equal to percentage d, and I can say sum, and then close my main function. So here, this is how I define my function. Okay, and this is how I call my function. Okay, then before main, okay, you have to declare the function. So I can say, okay, before main, I can say int add int a comma int b, then semicolon. So this is how you declare a function. So this is three important things that you have to remember when you define a function. Okay, so declaring a function, so you can declare a function wherever, okay, the function can be declared within a main function, still fine. Okay, but what happens is, if you declare a function within the main, okay, then this function cannot be called from another one. So main function, okay, if you declare within the main function, let's say there's another function, let's say read, okay, within this function, if I want to, okay, add another, okay, add this function a comma b, I cannot call it here. Okay, since the function is declared within the main. Okay, so you have to, if you want to use this function, okay, so if you want to use this function, okay, wherever, then you have to declare. It's like defining a global variable. Okay, then you have to define before the main a and b. Okay, instead of a b, I'm sending 2 and 3 value. So now when this function is called, okay, it will add sum is equal to a is 2 plus 3, and then it will return 5. So here this will store value 5 instead of I mean, when we call the function add ab, okay, the add ab will return a value 5, and then this sum value will store the value 5. Then we are calling this function again where we want to add two numbers again. So here we are calling c with the variable c and d. We are passing the parameters c and d. So here, instead of sending 2 3, now the value sent would be 3 comma 9. Okay, now we are not adding. The adding is done here only once, okay, which is called again and again. So here 3 plus 9, so it will return a value 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 would be returned. So this sum will store 12. Is it clear? Not necessary, okay, you have to define So this is again, it depends. Okay, it can be anything. I can say int x comma int y, still fine. So here we can define any name, doesn't matter. Okay, but the format has to be same. Okay, so int at int x comma int y. So here what I'm saying is, by declaring here, what I'm saying is, okay, I will have a function, okay, where the type, okay, the type is int, okay, then the name of function is add, okay, then I will have two parameter pass, that is of type int x, int y, variable name doesn't matter. Okay, then you, okay, define the function. So when you define the function, so these two has to be same. Okay, oh sorry, here it has to be again int a, int b. Okay, so here this is how we define it, int a comma int b. Okay, and it has to be similar with your declaration, and then this is how you call it. So okay, you must have seen this int here. Okay, in fact I'm sure you must have seen as int main also in some of the program. Did you encounter int main?
Yes, ma'am.
So here when you say int, okay, that indicates when, if it is int, then you have to return, okay, other than void. So you must have encountered void. Okay, still same, you can write void add, then let's say int a comma int b, okay, comma, then sum is equal to, let's say int sum, okay, is equal to a plus b, comma. So if it is void, you do not return any value other than void. If it is integer or float or character, then you return some value. So it should match, okay, the return value should match the type. So here my type is int, okay, that is why the return type should also be int. If it is char, okay, the return type should be char. So it should match the value that you are returning it. Make sure it, okay, make sure the data type of your function should match with the data type of the return value variable that is returned by your function. So in this example, like I said, okay, you have to declare the variable, okay, declare the variable, and then now since this is of type int, okay, your function is of type int, this function has to be, okay, called. Sum is equal to add. If it was void, then you can just call in this here, okay, you can just call add, then a comma b, say. You can directly call it a comma b. Okay, you don't have to store it, or you don't have to, okay, call by some other variable. Okay, so don't worry, maybe when we learn more, then you'll understand how, okay, how to call a function if it returns, okay, or how to call a function if it is not returning it, returning any value. Okay, so in this example, what I did was, so here this again another way of calling a function. Okay, so printf a plus b at ab. So I can see that this function returns a sum, okay, return a value. So I can call this function, if it is returning, then I can directly call it here, okay, where this printf function, okay, stores the value, or the printf function is the one that is calling the function at ab. Okay, so when we learn more, okay, you'll understand. So for now it's okay. Okay, now let us look at some of the terminology. So both function name and variable name are considered as identifiers. So if you all remember, when we were defining a variable name, there were some rules that has to be followed, right? So it applies same to the function name also, okay? It, okay, adheres to the rules of identifiers. So you cannot use starting number, right? You cannot use the keyword for the function name. Okay, again, function name is user defined. You can give any name. Okay, so the rules are same. Like when you define a variable name, okay, it applies same to function name also. So like variable function have type. We just saw that function. Okay, in our other example, we saw that a function can be, a function type is int, right? So you can have, okay, same to your variable, a function can have a type, okay, such as int or void or a char or, okay, float, etc. Okay, so like variable, function name and their type must be declared before they are used. Okay, so here in this example, I have function, okay, called here. Okay, so if you're, okay, declaring the function within the main function, then before the function is, so here in this example, I'm calling the function here and here, right? So before this function is called, like here, if the variable, I'm saying a is equal to 2. So before I assign the value 2 to a, the variable a has to be declared before that one. So int, we have a, b, c, d. So when I write a is equal to 2, it does not give any problems. If I've written a is equal to 2, then int a, then compiler will tell that a is not defined. So it's a problem, right? So it applies same to the function also, okay? Before you call a function, function has to be declared. So here at the start, right after the, okay, studio, the include file including, okay? You can declare a function, okay? Or if you're declaring within the main function, then you have to declare here, okay? Int add int a comma int b, okay, and then call the function. Okay, so function has to be declared before it is called. These are the some of the rules that we have to keep in mind. Okay, and these are the element that needs to, in fact I've already touched, okay, element that needs to be considered when you create a function. Okay, so we'll look at each, okay, how we can write it in next class. So these are the 4 things that has to be included. Okay, function declaration, I just showed it. Okay, or it is also known as function prototype declaration. Then function call, how to call it. Okay, if it is void, then how to call the function. If it is int, how to call a function. Okay, then function definition, actual function, that is, okay, what task that function particular do it. Okay, so you have to define the function and the return statement. If the function, okay, is of other than void type, then you have to return the statement. So we'll look at each, okay, each one of these in next class.